Right. Are there more to come? No, ignore them. Are there more to come? Can wait till 12:30. So, this lecture, the part that belongs to me, is going to finish by next week. Right? So today you are going to have 2 sessions, and only one. So the governance section is over. So you are going to get your assessment, which is the quiz. I thought of giving a quiz rather than, because other 2 badges did it. Other 2 badges did the assignment. So me and Himal discussed. So we do it in a different way. Otherwise, same assignment being done twice. ඉස්සෙල්ලා batch එකක් මම corporate governance වලින් report analysis එකක් දුන්නේ. So thought of changing it for your batch. So you will get a quiz. Okay. So the quiz will be conducted in the last week of June. That is between 29th, 30th weekend. Right? 29th, 30th, that weekend, it's only for 45 minutes, right? 45 minutes MCQs. So, won't take that much, but it's the easy time for y'all, the night. But it's the convenient time for y'all. Right? In the night. Today you have lectures until, normally on Sundays, Saturdays, do you have lectures until 10:30? Today you have until 10:30. Done or not? Ah? Haven't done that. Then there only. Right. And next week, what do you prefer? Saturday or Sunday? Sunday. Sunday to Saturday. Sunday. Right? Sunday night. 8 o'clock. Fine? Right. So I will set up some quiz at Sunday night. That means 30th, 30th June. That will be on 30th June, Sunday night at 8. How about the online ones? Can you all guys hear me? Hello? Can you all hear me? Those who are online, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Is it okay if I have the exam on June 30th at 8 p.m.?
Okay, ma'am. Fine.
Right? Okay. So it will be on last week of June. That is 30th Sunday at 8 p.m. Only for 45 minutes. And so the questions will be coming from the first topic to the last topic that I'm going to cover. Right. Shall we start? I want to start because 6 hours you guys are going to be with me. President, right? How many minutes more? Did you put the message to link come at 12:30? Simple message. Was there a message? Come by 12:30. 2 minutes more, we'll wait. Right, so we'll start. So the last week we started important component of corporate governance, which is on board. So before starting the board, I explained the corporate governance model normally that is there in organizations. Then we move on to the board. We define what is a board. So before all that, I'll again remind you, you will have the quiz, which is the assessment from my part on 30th Sunday at 8 p.m. Right? Quiz next week. So the quiz for this part will be on 30th Sunday at 8 p.m. Okay? Right. So I explained what is the board means, their tasks. You need to know their tasks well. Then, in order to fulfill their tasks, the scope of work that they have to undertake depend on two things. How frequently they are meeting, and the second one is how much sufficient time are they putting on fulfilling their responsibility. Then we looked at what are the matters that board needs to take up, right? What are the decisions normally a board take up. Then if you want to become a board member, a director of a board, you need to understand what sort of attributes or qualities that you should have. Right? So these things we explained last time. Then we stop, I think, somewhere here, board diversity. This part is really important because when you take a board, more the diversity that you can find in a board, better its support for the decision making. That is why a topic has come up on board diversity. That means you need to understand when you bring people to the board, they should have diverse experience. Sorry, they should have experience in diverse areas which is needed for the organization. Also, the gender-wise, it's better to bring diversity to board because gender differences also can bring some benefits to the board. Likewise, now at present, they are more focusing on bringing differences to the among the board members. Better the diversity, it says it will help for good decision making in the organization. That is why diversity is important. So normally diversity talks about variation in social cultural identities among people existing together in a defined employment of market setting. So primary diversity categories include age, race, ethnicity, and gender, while secondary diversities include education, experience, marital status, beliefs, and background. So the UK Corporate Governance Code states that when directors are appointed to the board, they should have due regard to the benefits of diversity on the board, especially including gender diversity. Right? Bring females to the board as benefits to the board. As I told you, I have uploaded an article where why board needs to bring females as board members. Mangli Sakit explained that article. right? So likewise, this report says the European Commission stated that diversity of expertise and background is essential if the board needs to function efficiently. The Commission highlighted variety of professional backgrounds, national or regional backgrounds, and gender diversity as the most significant consideration when looking at the diversity aspects, right? They need to come up with different professional backgrounds. That is one kind of diversity, as well as gender diversity. Those two, as much as possible, you need to bring to the board, right? So normally I can't connect my laptop. I will see whether I can take that. Please, just give me a moment. I'll upload one. No way that I can move. Anybody working at Hades? Anyone is working? You're working. Oh. So you're under finance, working under Pamukit. FedEx. Right. So when you take this annual report, I take it because they have got several awards for the best annual report. Okay, so when you take in this, you need to understand, right? So you get this. Normally, in the first section, they show what their company is about, their performance highlights and all that. You can see that this part, the second part of the annual report, focuses on purposeful and responsible leadership. That is where they are showing the corporate governance aspects of the organization, right? In that, you can see there's a reflection from the chairman and the chief executive, board of directors, and the management team and corporate governance, right? So that part is the section where they show that. So if I take you to that, right. So here, this one is the chairman and the CEO, right? So he always give a reflection because since he's holding both the position, he has to give and normally chairman has to give a reflection about the company since he's holding both the position. So his message is there about the company. Okay, this is that part. This is something important that need to be presented in the annual report, the chairman's report. Okay, right. So he is speaking on different aspects. So then come the board of directors. Right? So this part, if you read one by one the different members of this board, you can identify how different they are with regards to their skill set, right? So one aspect that you have to bring to the board is this diversity in their skills, right? If you take these are their pictures. So only one female is there in the board. So these are their pictures, and here, can you see what they are bringing here? They have 10 members, right? Out of those 10 members, they are showing from which background or expertise they are coming from, right? So as I told you, it is important to show what different expertise they are having. So out of the 10 members, 3 are from finance and accounting. One person is there from legal, that is Harsh Kabral, and you can see that he's coming as a independent non-executive director. Okay, so why they have put here specifically independent non-executive කියලා මේක ඉන්නවා ධම්මික පෙරේරා board එකේ. එතකොට ධම්මික පෙරේරා independent නෑ. They are non-executive because he is not involved in day-to-day tasks. So he is non-executive because he has interest in the company. He can't be independent. ඒක නිසා එයාට වෙනම designation එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා executive non-independent. හරි. ඒතර මේගොල්ලෝ independent non-executive. So තමයි අපි NEDs ලා හැටියට දකින්නේ. يعني they are coming from outside. They don't have any business interest. They are coming just as appointed as a non-executive directors to the board. Right? So likewise, if you look at finance and accounting 3, Kisnuan Vidyaratna, I think also having Vaidyaratna, I think also having a background from finance and accounting. So likewise, Sundarekina finance and accounting, 2 are from logistics and shipping, 2 are from engineering, 1 is from banking, agriculture, 1 is from hospitals. So likewise, they are showing their expertise in different areas. Then they are showing, see, in different ways, they are showing how diverse they are. They are showing how many executive directors are there and how many independent non-executives are there. And female to male ratio 9:1. Only 1 female is there. Then they have, these are the committees that they have: audit committee, remuneration, nomination. Commonly we have already discussed, but they are having another committee called related party transaction review, because you know what are related party transactions. Transactions happening with parties that are known, right? So this needs to be monitored. So in that organization, they have identified that this is something critical. So therefore, they have formed another committee, a new committee called related party transaction committee. A company set up we can form any subcommittees you want. Right? Corporate governance mainly focuses, they talk about these 3, but based on the need of the company, you can form any board committee that you want, board subcommittee that you want. These are called subcommittees. Okay? Then they have mentioned, they need to mention the qualifications of different people, their skills and experience. Right? The date that they were appointed and their skills and experience. Likewise. Then they bring the management team. Under the board, they have the senior management team. So these are the people in that. So then they are showing this management team also what is their expertise on which, because this is a conglomerate, right? So they have diversified business operations. So they need people who are having experience from these different areas. So here they have 50:2 male to female ratio. Then they are explaining about a bit about their management team called skills and experience as well. Here, now they highlight their corporate governance practices that they are having. Right? They have board and committees. Right? They have bribery and anti-corruption. So likewise, They will bring and highlight the key things that they do. Board contribution to value creation, right? Defining the corporate purpose. So likewise, our approach to corporate governance. So how they see what is corporate governance means, what sort of, what is their definition. They say the group corporate governance framework has been designed to facilitate effective entrepreneurial leadership. This entrepreneurial leadership means the leadership that is given by the board for the strategic direction of the organization. ඒකට තමයි entrepreneurial leadership කියන්නේ. උදේට මතක තියාගන්න, right? Entrepreneurial leadership is a word which is given for the strategic oversight given by the board for the company to move forward. Right? ඒගොල්ලනේ මේ අදහස් ගෙනල්ලා අලුත් දේවල් කරලා කම්පැනි එකේ ඉස්සරහගෙන හිතන අය. ඒතර ඒක නිසා තමයි, that is why we call it as entrepreneurial leadership. Then accountability. Accountability means who is responsible. Accountability is needed at all phases. If there is no one accountable, no one will be answerable. Right? Accountability එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. There should be someone who is taking up the work, need to be answerable. Accountability and judicious empowerment while balancing varying interests of our diverse stakeholders. So likewise, they will have corporate governance policy. Then they talk about different frameworks that they have. So these are the regulatory frameworks that they have to follow. These are the voluntary frameworks they are following. මේ ඔක්කොගෙම කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ කම්පැනි එක හරි විදිහට ගවර්න් කරනවා කියන එක, right? They are highlighting through these following these regulatory ones as well as voluntary. Apart from that, internally the organization is having certain setups. Then on the internal, Hades way කියන්නේ maybe their code of ethics, right? So they are showing inside Hades, they are following the regulatory frameworks. One going to regulate your company, regulatory frameworks, right? So they are showing they are following these regulatory frameworks. Apart from that, there are voluntary codes. Even the corporate governance code of Sri Lanka is a voluntary code, and they are showing they are following that. See. Code of Best Practice on Corporate Governance issued by Institute of Chartered Accountants in 2017. So I told you in Sri Lanka the code is voluntary. It is issued by Chartered Accountants. See, in 2017 is the newly amended one. So they are saying these things, they are voluntarily following, and inside the Hades, they are having these internal mechanisms. Right? So through all these, they are convincing to the investors or whoever read this annual report that they have right corporate governance practices. Right? So with regard to the corporate governance, these are the things that they focus on. Structure and oversight, that means how the company is formed. And how the oversight means who is looking at how the things are being looked after. Then stakeholder engagement, how they are communicating or engaged with the stakeholders. Transparency and accuracy of reporting. Enterprise risk management, ethics and culture. Corporate governance first lesson right? So they are telling in their organization, corporate governance wise, these are the areas they focus on, and these are their targets regarding each corporate governance area. Okay, when it comes to structure and oversight, 100% compliance to relevant laws and regulations. Stakeholder engagement, meaningful and impactful stakeholder relationship. Then transparency and accurate reporting, internal, external reporting on ESG factors. So likewise for different corporate governance aspects they have taken, they have a target. That is what is called governance target set out in Hades Life Code. Then they talk about each of these things in different pages, which we are not going to take up. They are showing there how corporate governance model. Can you remember when I was starting? So this company, they are showing how their corporate governance model is. Okay, so you have the board of directors, 6 executives, 4 non-executive, right? So now under them, there are boards, remuneration, nomination, and so on, right? Then they have the chief executive officer here, and he is managing the group management team, and they have 4 core areas under this group. So they are showing their corporate governance model here. Oversight of subsidiaries. The subsidiaries are taken care of. Is shown here. Then they talk about board subcommittees, audit committee nomination, right? What is the area that they are looking after, right? We are going to do these committees today. And when we are doing, we will come here. Right? So we'll go back to what we were doing. So that is how one way you can bring board diversity. Can you see how they are showing how diverse their board is? Because that actually gives a more value, that gives you this company, the people who are making decisions in this company coming from different backgrounds. So it is run governed in a proper way. That is why it's needed. Then I asked 3 questions. Identify the benefits that board diversity can bring to the governance of the organization. Explain the gender diversity in the board. What are the arguments in favor of female representation in the board? For this also, I have uploaded this reading material. Not here, but I have uploaded an article on diversity, board diversity. You need to read that. I have not, because I have not sent it here. So you need to read that. Then you will find answers for these 3 questions from that. Right? Why you need to bring gender diversity. Clearly explain 3 points. Why you need to bring them. Explain that. Then we are coming to today's lesson, which is appointment of the board. I told you there are 2 ways you can get people to the board. One way is through appointment. One way is through electing them to the board. Second way is through appointing them. Elected the nomination committee. The nomination committee is the one who propose people to the board. Right? Nomination committee එක තමයි board එකට board members ලව propose කරන්නේ. So when there is a need to appoint people, this nomination committee select candidates that are typically good for this. They search, they look, right? They will board may wage nature එකේ board member කෙනෙක් අපිට ඕනේ. Right? They firstly need to identify for our board, we need somebody who is good in accounting or good in marketing and finance. Marketing and finance doesn't go hand in hand. Marketing and finance right? Marketing people doesn't like numbers. They doesn't like finance at all. Right? Campus hari amarui marketing lamai finance right? They are in the mentality of lavishly spending. That is the attitude of a marketing. Normally, that is the attitude of a marketing person, right? So they are good at presenting themselves, those things. They are very poor at numbers. So there are very few people whoever blend of these two, right? Marketing karana numbers on the because they are the people who take the pricing decisions. They are the people who actually bring the revenue to the company, isn't it? Right? They are the people. They are dependent on these marketing fellows, what they does, right? Therefore, you are a marketing person, you have to be good in numbers as well. So sometimes they may feel for the board, we need a combination of that kind. So they will look for people, the possible candidates for this position. So the nomination committee's job is to search good people that you can bring to the board. So then what they do is these candidates are typically nominated by the nomination committee or shareholders' proposal. Sometimes shareholders can bring certain members. They can nominate certain members that can be bring to the board. So the nomination committee mainly, apart from that, shareholders also can bring some proposals to the AGM. So at the AGM, they have to vote, right? These candidates are then presented to the shareholder for election at AGM. Shareholders cast votes either in person at the AGM or via a proxy. The candidates receiving the required number of votes are elected to the board. That is one way of appointing members to the board, that is through electing. Second one, as I said, if you get a board position vacant, right, and if there is so much of time for AGM to take place, then you can appoint a board member, right? That is where the appointment happens. So during the appointment by the board can appoint people as board members. In some cases, current board members can appoint new members to fill vacancies that arise between AGM. Right? AGM they can appoint. But that needs to go to the AGM when it happens in the next time. Right? Otherwise, apart from the board, there are other specific authorities can appoint board members to the board. For example, certain board members may be appointed by a specific authority. That is such as company's founders. Make the puluwa appoint someone to the board. Controlling shareholders. There's a controlling shareholder. Most of the time we have, I said, concentrated ownership. Concentrated ownership. Concentrated ownership means more than 51% of the shares are held by few, among few set of people. Then we have concentrated ownership. When you have concentrated ownership, you have powerful shareholders in the organization. So those shareholders can appoint members to the board, those controlling shareholders. Another designated entity within the organization also can appoint. So these are the two ways how board members are appointed to the board. Then, now same as we are training our employees, you need to understand these board members also need training. Right? You have seen sometimes you are sending your board members to training programs, workshops, those kind of things. You have to send them because their knowledge also need to be upgraded. Right? There are so many new things are happening in the business world, and also they need to get connected with other people. Right? So it is important that they also go through their professional development. Right? So in an organization, how much that you spend for their professional development matters a lot. So this part talks about that. The Higgs report points out that directors should continuously extend their knowledge and skills to remain effective. The report suggests that potential directors' professional development should concentrate on board's role, obligation, entitlements of existing directors, and the behavior needed for effective board performance. So when we are deciding whether our board needs professional development, it depends on these things, right? What is the role of that person in the board? What are the obligations and entitlements of those existing Directors, obligations means what are expected from them. Those are called obligations. Entitlement means as a director, what are they entitled to get from the company? Right? So you have to, when you are thinking of giving professional development, you need to look at what is their role, what are their obligations and entitlement as an existing director, and what is the behavior, what kind of behavior you feel that is needed to contribute to the board by them. Right? Sometimes their knowledge, you may feel they need to get more hang on certain things. Maybe IT is now changing a lot, how this is impacting on our strategic decision making. They may feel somebody in the board needs to get training on that, more knowledge on that, more skills on that. So likewise, you need to understand the behavior needed for effective board. Board එකක අපිට decision ගන්නකොට මේ පැත්ත අපේ lacking. So we need to send people to get this needed knowledge. Decisions done with they are the people who take the long-term decisions, strategic movements, right? So they may need to have updated knowledge all the time, updated skills. This ඒගොල්ලෝ ගන්න decision එක වැරදුනාම තමයි company, right? So as a result of that, we need to give professional development for them as well. So these are the areas that they should be mainly enhance their knowledge and skills. Strategy, right? Strategy is no matter how much you know, it's changing every minute, every day, right? Because the business world is changing so rapidly. So the main strategy so they need to get updated knowledge, updated ways of how these strategies needs to be decided, what sort of strategies are good, right? So strategy aspect is need to be very thorough. Take a good update maybe. So strategy aspect, what are the strategies you can take up, what are the ways that you can implement those strategies. So likewise, strategy from the initiation to the implementation and everything, you may want to know more knowledge, you may want to get more knowledge on that. Then management of human and financial resources, audit and remuneration issues that companies are facing, legal and regulatory issues, risk management, the effective behavior of a board director such as influencing skills, conflict resolution, sharing skills, and board dynamics. Then they also need to get, as I always say, the technical background of the company's activities so the directors can properly appreciate strategic consideration. For example, in fast evolving fields such as financial services or technology. So those things, they also need to get updated knowledge, right? Then, the last thing, performance. The board members, need performance right? Company, employee performance evaluate evaluate you need to evaluate performance of the board members as well, right? Don't ignore that part. It is a part of corporate governance. You are paying for them, right? They are the people who make the strategic direction and all the governance and oversight of everything. So whether they are doing their part properly needs to be evaluated with the payment that you are doing for them, right? That is where the performance part comes. It says appraisal of the board performance is an important control over it. It's aimed at improving board effectiveness, maximizing strength, and tackling weaknesses. It should be seen as an essential part of feedback process within the company and may prompt the board to change its methods and objectives. Board performance balance. When it comes to performance evaluation, you have to look at their performance as a board. Board how they are performing. That is one way. Secondly, you have to assess individually board member performance. So there are two kinds of performances there. So as a board, how they make decisions, how collectively they are working together. So those kind of things, as a board, you have to look at. Secondly, individual members' performance, you have to evaluate. So it says that the UK Corporate Governance Code recommends that performance of the board, its committees, and individual directors should be formally assessed once a year. So these codes are emphasizing this by specifically telling what is needed to be done. Performance of the board, its committees, that means the 3 committees that we said, and individual directors once a year. Ideally, assessment should be by an external third party who can bring objectivity to the process. Actually, HRM එක රෝග කරන්න බෑනේ. නේද? HRM එකට employees ලගේ බැලුවට board එකේ performance බලන්න ගියොත් bias වෙනවනේ. When you become biased, we call it as subjective. Right? Subjective. When you are evaluating performances, you cannot have subjectivity, biasness. You have to have objectivity. Objectivity means you have to measure it in the proper way. You have to measure it in the proper way. So that objectivity can be brought to the evaluation process if it is done by somebody third party that you are hiring to do that. Okay? And may also be like, it's better for everyone if you bring the third party to do it. Then it says, in order to be conducted effectively, the appraisal of the whole board will need to be included, right? As I said, a review of the board system. Again, board system review. It means conduct of the meetings, how they are conducting the meetings, work of the committees, quality of the written documentation. So the board performances need to be looked in these aspects. How they conduct the meetings, how the work of the committee is being done, and the quality of the written document. Secondly, performance measurement in terms of the standard it has established, right? So when you're measuring the performance, you have to look at the performance always with the standards you have set, right? Board that you may have set the standards, right? So always compare your standards and how they have made decisions. For an example, when financial criteria, non-financial criteria, you have to look at. Third one, assessment of the board role in the organization, right? So when it's come to the board, in the organization, operational wise, you have to look at their role, how they are dealing with the problems, how they are communicating with the stakeholders. So as a board, there are 3 things you have to look at their performance on, right? First one is how the board system works. Second one is whatever the performance of the board needs to be matched with the standards you have set for the board. Third one is you need to look at how board has engaged with the organization activities, how they have dealt with the problems and how they are communicating with the stakeholders. So these 3 areas needs to be covered with regards to the performance of the board. If the review is carried out internally, that means by your HRM, board members may be asked to assess performance using a questionnaire based on the best practice of an effective board. The questionnaire may be supplemented by interviews. So if you are going to conduct it internally, you can give a questionnaire to them to fill and you can follow it up with interviews. Okay, so that is how performance of the board is looked at. Don't see if there is some MCQ questions are coming after this, right? I have already uploaded that to the LMS. If you have gone through, you would have seen. Now this part, performance of the individual director. Like this is performance of the board. Board how their performances are. Now we are coming to performance of the board member. It says separate appraisal of performance of the chairman and the CEO should be carried out by the non-executive directors, but all directors should have some form of individual appraisal. Again, non-executive directors like performance evaluate you will study later on with me. You have to evaluate their performance also. But when it's come to chairman and the CEO, non-executive directors need to evaluate their performance. This is how it says. So when it's come to evaluating the board members' performance, these are the criteria. How independent they were when they are making decisions. How prepared were they when they come to the board? Right? Then practice. How active they were when they were engaged in board activities. Committee work. How they were involved in the committee work. And how they contributed to the development of the organization. Thereafter, එක member කෙනෙක්ගේ මේ criteria cover වෙන්න ඕනේ. How independent they were when they are making decisions as a board member, how prepared they were, and how how did they actively participate in the board meetings, how they were engaged in committee work, and the development of the organization. The last one. Now, all these things, what we discussed, was explained in corporate governance framework. The corporate governance framework is a board, right? I'm going to show that next week. I'm going to take CA Sri Lanka 2017 code. Take content board class. When you are in the code, section board. The board what are the things that you have for corporate governance? They have clearly mentioned. Right? So those are the things that we discussed up to this point. But apart from that, you need to understand every country through their Companies Act, they have mentioned about legal and regulatory framework for board. Company Act එකක් තියෙනවානේ. හරි පරණ Company Act එකක් තියෙනවා. When you take that Company Act, you may, if you have done commerce or business studies for A levels, you would have gone through that. Companies Act එකේ තියෙන certain things under companies, because you do different types of organizations කරනවා. ඒකේ companies වලට අහපුවා Companies Act එක ගැන කියනවා. ඒක අන්න අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. මම ගොඩාක් පරණයි කරනවා 2000 play කරලා නැතුව තියෙන්නේ 2001 හරි කවුරුත් නැතුව තියෙන university වල right? So during that time we කවුරුත් නැහැ. So in that Companies Act also, guys, you have separate section on board of directors and their role in the company. ඒතර ඒවා voluntary full based. එකේ company එකේ board එක ගැන තියෙන දේවල් voluntary ද compulsory. Tell me. Act එකේ තියෙන දෙයක් නම් ඒක compulsory. You have to understand. Right? Code එකේ තියෙන දෙයක් නම් corporate governance code එකේ තියෙන මොන හරි නම් with regards to board, it's not compulsory, it's voluntary. How companies adapt to that or practice that is voluntary. But Companies Act, whatever they have mentioned about the board, right? Board role, responsibilities and all that, those are mandatory and regulatory. Eva violate to not, right? Those are not voluntary. Every company needs to follow those things as they have mentioned. Right? So, legal and regulatory frameworks for the board. It says, when defining the scope of their role, board must comply with the legal and regulatory framework of the jurisdictions within which they operate. So, when it's come to the country's law with regards to company, directors, whatever is there, they need to follow that. Right? They need to follow that as it is. ඒක තමයි මෙතන කියන්නේ. මොනවා හරි legal and regulatory framework එකක් තියෙනවා නම් රටක company එක board එක ගැන සහ ඒකේ role එක ගැන explain කරපු They need to work according to that. Some of the things that they may have mentioned are these things. For example, in the regulatory framework or your Companies Act may have mentioned these are the legal responsibilities of a board member, right? Legally, my responsibilities. Directors have a duty of care to show reasonable competence and may have to indemnify the company against loss caused by negligence. They have a duty of care, right? They are supposed to take over duty of care. To do that, they have to have reasonable competence and they have to indemnify. They have to make sure that company will not cause any loss due to their negligence. Directors are also said to be in a fiduciary position in relation to the company. What is the meaning of fiduciary position? Type and see, Google it and see what's the meaning of fiduciary position. Google it and see. What do you mean by duty of care? Legal obligation to fulfill a duty. It is duty of care. Legally, someone to be role duty. Duty of care. A duty of care is a legal obligation that is imposed on an individual requiring adherence to the standard of reasonable care and to avoid careless act. Careless act network is responsibilities duty of care. It's a very fiduciary duty. It says fiduciary duty is the legal responsibility to act solely in the best interest of another person. Right? Legal responsibility to act best interest of the company. That is called fiduciary position. They must act honestly in what they consider to be the best interest of the company and in good faith. Again, corporate governance or corporate governance regulatory framework make a stress right? Again, more than the corporate governance, these are superior ones. So board, anyway, they need to look into that. They have a duty of care to show that they have reasonable competence and they should not act negligently and earn losses to the company. They also have fiduciary responsibility with regards to the company. They have to work in the best interest of the company. That is called the fiduciary responsibility. Right? Directors have to work in best interest of the company. Meaning of the fiduciary position. Right? Then they have these statutory duties. Act within their powers, promote the success of the company, exercise independent judgment, exercise reasonable skill, care and diligence, avoid conflict of interest, do not accept benefits from third parties, declare an interest in proposed transaction or arrangement. So legal wise, they are telling these are their statutory duties. Not only duties, in the regulatory framework, they have legal rights also. Directors are entitled to fees and expenses as directors according to the company's constitution and emoluments and compensation for loss of office in line with their service contract. Economic responsibilities we talked in this slide. Now, regulatory wise, they have rights. Economic service sector, they have a right to get a fees, and if they incur expense, to get information to make decision. If they have to spend some money, those kind of expenses they can reimburse, right? When they are fulfilling the board duties, if they have to incur expense, that expense need to be reimbursed by the company. Right, Eka? Not a give out the money. For the company, what is the expense that way? You can say, Eva, reimburse කරන්න. ඒතකොට ඒවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ rights. Right? So this is all with regards to board. Right? Board එකක් ගැන ගත්තාම මේ ටික තමයි මූලික දේ. Then I have given only 5 minutes we need. We have to do that exercise. This one, quickly, 12 questions. Galle. 12 questions. Quickly do it. Only 5 minutes needed, 10 minutes. Now it's 1:30, 1:40. We're going to make it regard. Yeah, no talking, finish this please. Please stop talking and do this. Shall we take one by one and finish it quickly? Take the first one. What is the answer for this? What is the primary role of board of directors? What's the answer? C. Who oversees the organization's management and ensures stakeholders' interests are protected. Make a mark and MCQ. Second one. Which one the following is a fiduciary duty of a board member? Which one? D. Duty of care, duty of loyalty, duty of obedience, all are included under fiduciary duty. Next one. Right, please skip that. Can you answer the base? Audit committee අපි කරලා නැහැ, but I have talked several times. What is audit committee is? Any guesses? Huh? Yeah, it's C. Right? Audit committee, you will learn with me. They are more into to ensure the accuracy and integrity of financial statements out of the answers that are here. Don't worry if you miss it, you still have not studied that. Huh? Next one. This is the answer. Which of the following best describe a conflict of interest in a board governance context? One. Conflict of interest. Which of the following best describes a conflict of interest in a board governance context? Yeah. conflict of interest happen where board members' personal or financial interest could potentially interfere with their duties. That is for the conflict of interest. Their personal interest or personal benefit get clashes with organizational work. That is what is called conflict of interest. Next one. This one. Effective board governance relies heavily on effective board governance relies heavily on clear communication and defined roles and responsibility. Sixth one. Which of the following is not typically a function of the board of directors? No. B. Not A, A they do. First thing that they have to do is that strategic direction and practice. But they don't get involved in daily operational decisions. Seventh one. In the context of non-profit organization, what additional responsibilities does the board have? This I may not have told you all, but can you have any guess on this? Seventh one? Yeah. Because these are normally, if you take additional responsibility is ensuring that organization resources are used in pursuit of its mission. Because it's kind of a charity, not profit organization means that. So these are that is the additional thing, that responsibility they will have. Next one. Which of the following is characteristic of an effective board meetings? Which of the following is a characteristic of effective board meetings? C. Structured agenda with time allocated for decisions on strategic issues. Next one, 9. Why diversity is important on board of directors? B. It brings variety of perspective and ideas, leading to more effective decision making. 10th one. What can be considered a dimension of diversity in a boardroom? Yes. Right? The variety of professional background, ages, ethnicities, and genders. Next one. What can be considered wait. What can be considered a dimension of diversity? What is the common method for evaluating the performance of a board? C. Self-assessment questionnaire. මං කිව්වේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට දෙන්නේ questionnaire එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට self assess කරගන්න. ඊට පස්සේ interviews දෙනවා. Right? ඒ වගේ තමයි. So public opinion polls දාන්න නැහැ මේක. ශ්‍රීලංකා පාරේ මිනිස්සුන්ගෙන් අහන්නේ නැහැ අපේ director හොඳයිද කියලා. නේද? That is called then annual financial audits වලින් ඒක එන්නේ නැහැ. So customer satisfaction survey අදාළ නැහැ නේ director කෙනෙක්ගේ performance වලට. So only thing is self-assessment questionnaires and peer reviews. What's going on over there, boys? Last one. Sixth stanza. Professional development for board members can include A. A. Right? Participation in industry conferences and workshops. Okay? So these kind of questions you can get for your MCQs. So get ready. Right. Now this I will continue with the next one without a break. I want to finish this. No. We started at 12:30. No break until 2. Don't ask. So the next topic we have to do is talk about board memberships. Right. So now in this one, we are going to look at, please be quiet. In this one, we are going to take individual characters in the board and try to identify what is the specific task they are supposed to do. So what we studied last time, looking at the overall role of the board. But we are now going to take the members. You can see different types of members in the board. We are given different designation to certain board members. So we are going to take one by one of those characters and see what they are supposed to do in an organization. So that is what is called board membership and roles. Right? So when it comes to board membership, when it comes to a board, there are 3 things which are critical. First one is you need to understand what should be the size of the board, right? Size of the board. It says with greater size can come greater opportunities for representation of varied views. More the members you have on the board, more the different views you can bring to the board. But you have to look at that. However, this can be at the expense of ease of operation and coherence of decision making. ගොඩක් members ලා ඉන්නකොට expertise knowledge එන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි decision making will be difficult sometimes. More the members, then you have to get the acceptance of everyone, right, in a board. So in a board, when you're making decisions, there are rules that out of this much of voting is needed for a board decision to be approved. Likewise, you may be having, but more the people you have, expenses are very high, and also decision making is also not going to be easy. Next one is how much inside-outside mix you have. Inside-outside mix means how many executive directors that you bring from inside the organization. Outside means how many non-executive directors are there. So when you look at the blend, it's more towards which side? Executive the non-executive. Executives like here. The high executive directors la hatarai non-executives like here. Right? So it's up to the company to decide that. But the best what they say is bring more non-executive to the board. Increase the composition of that board. But it depends on the organization preference. Next one, diversity. Diversity, as I said, female, male mix, ethnic minorities or professionals, you can bring the diversity. Then we are coming to certain characters in the board. First one is the difference between chairman and the CEO. Ultimate leadership of the organization consists of number of standards, mostly the chairman and the CEO. So chairman is the one who leading the board, and the CEO is the one who leading the management team and below level, right? So these two roles, as you saw in here, is held by one person, right? Organizations do have a setup like that. I'm going to show you the disadvantages and advantages of holding these two positions by one party. There are good things as well as bad things. Because in a board, you know that what is expected from different roles are different, right? What you expect from the chairman is different from what you expect from the CEO. So if these two positions are held by one person, so how he is going to fulfill the role of individual task is a bit of a questionable thing, but we'll see. So first one is the chairman, right? He's the most, I think, most powerful person in the organization, the chairman. So look at the things that he's responsible for, right? So he's the one, he's the leader of he's the leading the board. Therefore, with regards to the board, their decision making, he's having a lot of responsibility, right? So first few points are actually his role with regards to the board. First one is running the board and setting its agenda. So as the chairman should ensure that board focuses on strategic matters and takes account of the key issues and concerns of board members, right? As a board, they have to focus on the future, and focusing on future means the strategic decisions that the board will make. And also when he is heading the board, he has to look at the concerns of all board members, not the dominating board members, all of the board members. Different concerns needs to be looked by the chairman. He should ensure the contribution of executives and non-executive are coordinated and good relationship is maintained. So there can be different views, internal set opinions because they are the people who go down and operate also, right? So they will bring their views. So that can get conflicted with non-executives who come and question from them, right? So in that situation, as the chairman, Then he needs to balance the views of these. They need to coordinate the opinions, the decision making among these two parties and ensure in a board a good relationship is maintained among members. Right? That is the first one. Second one, for board members, when they are making decisions, they have to be given the right information that they want. So the chairman is the one who will decide what information is needed to be shared among the board members for the decision making to be done. That is what the second point says. Ensuring the board receive accurate and timely information. Good information will enable the board to make sound decisions and monitor the company effectively. So, as the chairman, he needs to provide the information that is needed for the board to make the decisions. Third one, ensuring effective communication with shareholders. So, in the board, in the model you saw, shareholders are there on the top, then you have the board. Board ticket, you saw chairman on the top. So, he is the link between the shareholders and he needs to communicate all the time with the shareholders with regards to what's happening in the company. The chairman should take the lead in ensuring that the board develops and understands the views of major investors. Right? Concentrated ownership. Concentrated ownership shareholders major shareholders like ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ concerns මොනවද කියන එක හැමතිස්සෙම channel කරන්නේ board එකට chairman should. Right? The chairman is often the public face of the company as far as investors are concerned. He is the public face. He is the one who needs to go and answer. Okay. Then you have the other responsibilities are these one. D, ensuring that sufficient time is allowed for discussion of controversial issues. You have to allow your board members to discuss controversial issues. ඒවා තමයි අමාරු මේවා. සමහරවිට board meeting පැය ගණන් යනවා. දැකලා තියෙනව නේද? අහලා තියෙනව නේද? Because when there are controversial issues, as the chairman, you have to allow those discussions to come up. Right? ඒවා එනවා කියන එක වැරදි නෑ. Controversial කියන්නේ issues තියෙනවා කියන එක. So if you try to hide as a chairman all the problems that are there, then that is a big issue. So he needs to allow directors to talk, argue, and he needs to balance the stuff. He needs to balance it up. He's like kind of a moderator role he needs to do in the board in such situation. Right? All members should have enough time to consider critical issues and not be faced with unrealistic deadlines or decision making. Controversial issues එනකොට members ලා ඉඩ දෙන්න ඕනේ ඒක ගැන ඒක ස්ටඩි කරලා ඒ ගැන කතා කරන්න කාලය දෙන්න ඕනේ. කලබල වෙලා we don't have time, we can't look into this කියලා. As a chairman, you should not allow those kind of things. Next one, taking the lead in board development. I told you, board members need to be professionally developed. So the chairman is the one who will identify these professional development needs. Right? That's what this point talks about. The chairman is responsible for addressing the development needs of the board as a whole and enhancing the effectiveness of the whole team. Also meeting the development needs of individual directors. The chairman should ensure that the induction program for new directors are comprehensive, formal, and tailored. Directors like induction. They are new to the company. Right? They are not knowing the setup of the company. So they also need to go through induction. So the induction that you are proposing or developing for them need to be decided by the chairman because it should be comprehensive enough to cover the things that he needs to know about the organization. It should be tailored to the person's nature and it should be a formal one. Then next point it says facilitating the board appraisal. You should always support for the performance evaluation of the board and the board members. That is what this point says. Next, encouraging active engagement by all the members of the board. So that means as the chairman, you have to promote open culture where people are free to talk and discuss things. Right? මේ හැම එකකම bold එකේ තියෙන හැම මගේ slide එකකම bold එක කරලා තියෙන word එක keyword එක. Right? ඒකට ඕගලන්ගේ answer එක කොහොම ලිව්වත් මට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි ඒ keyword එක එන්න ඕනේ. Right? Keyword එක මොකක්ද නැත්නම් මම ලකුණු දෙන්නේ. Right? Sentence forming is up to you, but the keyword needs to be there. Okay? So encouraging an active engagement means you have to have a culture of openness and debate. And all these, not only, especially non-executives, discussion එකට ගේන්න ඕනේ. දැන් අර වගේ board එකක හයක් executive ඉඳලා හතරක් non-executive වුණාම non-executives ලා කතා කරා ඉතලා මම ලේසි නෑනේ ඒගොල්ලෝගේ මතයක් එළියට දාන්න පේනවාද? ඒගොල්ලෝ dominate කරන්න හදනවා executives ලා. ඒකට board එක balance කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ගේන්නේ open discussion එකනේ. ඉතින් වෙලා මේව ගැන question කරන්න. So ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒකට chance එකක් දෙන්න නැත්නම් what's the point of bringing them? Right? So always if they are also agreeing to the what executive directors are telling, then no point having them in the board. That ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඒ වෙලාවට අපි කියනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොම මේගොල්ලෝ කියන දෙයට agree වෙනවා. What you are getting from this them is that they are bringing external knowledge and experience to the board. ඒක විතරයි ඒගොල්ලෝගෙන් ගන්න. ඒගොල්ලෝ inquisitive නෑ. Inquisitive නෑ කියන්නේ executive directors or whatever they are doing, they are saying okay for it. Then that is not what is expected. There are certain things you have to question. How this happened? Why this happened? Why was this done in this way? Right? ඒ වගේ effective contribution and discussions වලට chairman තමයි support කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒක like a kind of a judge. Right? You have to allow. They are questioning certain things of the executive directors. Let them question this. Let them open up. Let them ask. Right? So that kind of a culture he needs to develop in the board. Then only the board members will be actively engaged. Last one is, as you saw, reporting in and signing off accounts. දැන් මම පෙන්නුවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට හේලිස් එකේ වගේ එයාට තමයි අන්තිම authority එක දෙන්නේ annual report එක approved and sign කරන්න. ඒක එයා ඒකේ key. මොකද approved and sign means what? What does that signal you? What does that signal you? He is accountable. තේරෙනවද? එයා approve කරලා sign කරනවා කියන්නේ එයා accountable. මේක issue එකක් වුණොත් එයා තමයි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම answerable. You have to understand that. So it's a big responsibility he's taking up. Right? මේක නිකන් signature එකක් දානවා නෙවෙයි. එයා signature එක දානවා කියන්නේ මේ accounts හරි කියලා එයා internal member කෙනෙක් organization එක ඇතුලේ member කෙනෙක් විදිහට approve කරනවා කියන්නේ. ඒත් මේකේ මොනවා හරි issue එකක් තිබ්බොත් ඉස්සෙල්ලාම එයා තමයි answerable. එයා තමයි responsible. Right? Financial statement in many jurisdictions include chairman statement that must be compatible with other information in the financial statement. The statement provides an opportunity for the chairman to demonstrate that they are acting in the shareholders' best interest. That kind of Haley's statement එක පිටු ගානක් තියෙනවා. යා එක එක ඒවා ගැන discuss කරනවා. The statement can also explain how the chairman is exercising their role and highlighting other aspects of corporate governance. The chairman may also be responsible for signing off the financial statements. So signing off means, as I said, he is responsible. Now we'll take a break. Okay? We'll come to this after the break. Come by 2:15 up, please. Don't get delayed. 2:15. Now it's 1:53. Okay, guys. Can you put a message for the others to come? All the others to come. Okay, shall we start? All the others to say any other. Right. Okay, we will start because otherwise it's getting data. Now we are coming to the other role, which is the role of the CEO. Right. So now we are moving to the other role, which is the CEO. So CEO is responsible for running the organization's business and for proposing and developing group strategy and overall commercial objective in consultation with directors and the board. Right? So as the role of the CEO, I'm talking about the role of the CEO, right? So CEO, when he sits in the board, then he is executive director. It's a different story, right? CEO කියන hat එක. CEO role needs to take care of this, right? So same person may goes to the board as the executive director. එතනක් තියෙනවනේ. I told you, right? Executive directors are people who are working in the organization promoted to the board. Eතකොට some organization, the CEO and the chairmanship is held by one person. In other organization, these may be held by two separate people, right? In such situation, then the CEO can be an executive director as well. CEO la හැමතිස්සෙම executive directors අන්තිතනොත් තියෙනවා. Right? In some organizations, CEO is promoted as an executive director also. But here what we are focusing is the role of the CEO. CEO කියන role එකේ කරන දේවල්. Right? If you are a chief executive officer, what is expected from you? So he is the one who needs to run the business organization because he is the head of the organization. When you take a business, he is the head. He is the one who runs the organization and he proposes and develops group strategies. So normally the strategic direction, strategic oversight is given by the board, right? But the CEO can also contribute to that by proposing and developing group strategy. He also can contribute to the strategy making with the directors by proposing and developing group strategy and overall commercial objectives in consultation with directors and the board. So this talks about when CEO is not a part of the board. He is acting only as the chief executive officer of the organization. Okay? So when he is doing the role of the CEO, this is his main task. The CEO is also responsible for implementing the decisions of the board. Whatever the decisions taken by the board, implementing those decisions lies with the CEO. Okay? And its committee. Developing the main policy statements and reviewing the business organization structure and operational performance. Apart from running the organization and proposing and developing group strategy, he also needs to implement whatever the decisions taken in the board or its committees in the organizational level, developing the main policy statements and reviewing the business organizational structures and operational performance, right? Developing the main policy statement, he develops, but that needs to be approved by the board. Yeah, developed policies it has to go to the board, board approves it, then only those things will be implemented. But he needs to review organizational structure which he's running and the operational performance. So because he is the one who is heading the organization. So whatever that is after the board, he is the head of everything. Right? The organization run karna hamma responsibility lies on him. So he needs to make sure he achieve or he implement what the board is asking him to do. Third, it says the CEO is the senior executive in charge of the management team and is answerable to the board for its performance. CEO is answerable to the board for his performance. They will have to formalize the roles and responsibilities of the management team, including determining degree of delegation. So the management team is head karanne CEO. Under him, there are other C-suite employees. I have told you who are C-suite, right? Whoever the executive starts with C is called the C-suite employees, and those are the ones who actually include as the management team, top management team. So the CEO is the head of that top management team. So he needs to understand what the roles of the other C-suite employees under him, which are the other management team members, right? And he needs to understand how far I'm going to delegate certain authorities to them. So if you look at CEO is kind of a dream job for many of us, right? We have no master job, but with that, you have lots of responsibilities. They may be having good life, but actually whether they are having a good life is questionable. So much of pressure, but their package is so attractive. So attractive. You can't even imagine the package that they are getting, right? So attractive. But with that, you have huge amount of responsibility. Right? Huge amount of responsibility. So like as I have mentioned here, so this is the role that CEO is expected to do. So with that, right? If you take that major things that he has to do, I have put that into key areas. So if you take, there are 6 key things he needs to focus on. First one, he has to make sure the business strategy and management of that. The CEO will take the lead in developing objective and strategy, having regard to the organizational stakeholders, and will be responsible for the board for ensuring that organization achieve objective, optimizing the use of resources. So the strategy, some organizations, if you read in the internet, right, it says some organization, it's the board does it. Some organization, it's the task of the CEO here. Some, they all get together and make them here. Right? So it changes with the type of the organization. But board and the CEO are together need to be involved in the strategy making process. Right? Strategy making process of the organization. So business strategy and ensuring that it is being achieved. That is what is called management. The CEO will take the lead in developing objectives and strategy having regard to the organizational stakeholders and will be responsible for the board ensuring that those are achieved by using the resources. So he is, whether he is involved in or not making the strategy is a different story, but he needs to implement it. That is for sure. Right? Yeah, everyone has that involved because he's the top of the organization. So with the board members, he will make the strategies needed for the organization, but he needs to make sure not only the strategy making, they have to be implemented and achieve what is expected by him from the board. Right? That is the core task. Then he needs to look at this. CEO will examine major investments, capital expenditures, acquisition and disposal, be responsible for identifying new initiatives. For an example, the new investments that we can move forward. Right? Whether there are any acquisitions, those things he can pursue, that he can look for. But he is not the one who is making the final decision. Huh? It needs to go to the board. Board decisions board needs to. Oh, then. Right? So board has the final call. But we can pursue different financial investment options that the organization can be taken or move forward. Then risk management. This is a core part of the CEO's role. The CEO will be responsible for managing the risk profile in line with the risk appetite set by the board. You will learn this word later on. Risk appetite is an organization risk tolerance level. Right? You will study under risk management. If you want to move forward, organization need to take risk. Risk we can stay as we are. Whatever the operations that we are doing now, we will do it and continue. But if you want to earn something more, guys, you have to take a risk. Right? Aluk product launch aluk market aluk initiatives. So with that, you have a risk. There is a rate of failure, isn't it? Right? So but we all do these things to earn something more, get a more return. So whenever we do something new, there's a risk involved. So every organization has to come up or decide what is the risk level we are okay to take up. Risk appetite. We appetite right? Appetite risk appetite risk right? Organization board level they can decide we are okay as an organization to take this much of risk when we are moving forward. And risk appetite decide investment decision business strategy you have to be in line with that risk appetite. Risky right? So CEO is responsible for managing the risk profile in line with risk appetite. So whenever he does or propose anything, finance, investment opportunities or new strategies or new anything, he needs to always look at whatever these things are these things within the risk appetite of the organization. Right? They will also be responsible for ensuring appropriate planning, operational and control system and internal controls are there. Risk management, to manage it, you have to have internal controls. So the CEO is the one who needs to look at whether there are enough internal controls in the organization to manage risk. Risk management again, having proper internal controls in the organization. So he needs to look into that. He's responsible for planning of that operational control system, and internal controls are in place and they operate efficiently. He needs to look into those things. Finally, CEO has the ultimate ownership of control systems and should take the lead in establishing control environment and culture. In an organization, CEO plays the key role with regards to building the culture of risk management. එයා තමයි ඉස්සෙල්ලාම role model එක වෙන්න ඕනේ. Right? Because others are following him. So if he is considering controls are important, right? Risk management is important. Showing through his examples that he is concerned over these things. Actually, those things will impact the culture of the organization. So likewise, he is a role model that will bring the control environment needed for the organization. Right? So those parts are needed for risk management purposes. Right? Those are his roles with regards to risk management. Then he is the one who will establish the executive team needed for him to run the organization. That is what it says, establishing the company's management team. That means the top management team. The CEO will provide the nomination committee with their views on future roles and capabilities. That run top management team එකට ඕන අය කවුද කියන එක nomination committee එකට එයා තමයි කියන්නේ propose කරන්නේ. And make recommendation about the recruitment of individual directors. Recommend කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරි directors ලා එයාට propose කරන්න පුළුවන්. Executive හැටියට directors ලා හැටියට යන අය he can propose. He can say these people can be considered. They will also be responsible for recruiting and overseeing management team below the board level. Yeah, තමයි top executive team එකේ ලොක්කනේ. එතන ඉඳන් from management team එක is under him. Board committees. CEO will make recommendation to be discussed by the board committee as remuneration policy, executive remuneration, and terms of employment. He can make recommendation. කවුවත් ඒ board committees වල මේ CEO ට ඕන විදිහට වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. Right? But he can make recommendation on these aspects. Right? The board committees යන්නේ board එකේ. CEO ඉන්නේ යට. Right? CEO ගේ role එක තියෙන්නේ he is a top of the executive team, executive management team. හරි? So එයා the recommendation දෙන්න පුළුවන්, but he can't influence. He is an employee. Then stakeholders. What is his relationship with the stakeholders? Like the chairman, part of the CEO's role will be deal with those interests in the company. The chairman's focus, however, will often be on dealing with the shareholders. Chairman in the shareholders deal කරන්නේ. But whereas CEO will be concerned with other major stakeholders who impact the company's operations. Right? So his dealings are always with the other stakeholders of the organization. Right? So if I summarize, he has 6 roles or 6 duties. What are those 6? He has to set up the business strategy of the organization. Right? Do you know the difference between business strategy? What is a business strategy? Strategy. Business strategy කියන්නේ අපි කරන business එකේ strategy එක හදන එක. ඒතර organizations වලට ආවම strategies ආදී ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. දන්නවද ඕනනම්? You have corporate strategy. Corporate strategy කියන්නේ as an organization as a whole, where we want to move in the future. කවුද ඒක හදන්නේ? කවුරු කියලා හිතන්නේ? Board of Directors. Corporate the organization, where are we going to go in the future? What is the next movement? Are we going to a different sector? Are we going to a different long-term company-wise? Big movements are made as corporate strategies. What are business strategies? Business එක run කරන්න අපේ දැන් තියෙන business එක run කරන්න what kind of a strategy are we need to check? The business strategy need to change. Sometimes what are the two business strategies that normal people use? Any idea? Two business strategies mainly are being used. Cost leadership with differentiation. Those are the two main business strategies. Main business strategy the CEO organization is under him. The business strategy being built. Right? Corporate strategies are there, business strategies are there. Corporate means as an organization, what's your next movement? Business strategy means for the business that you are doing, you need to have tactics. Right? You know what is cost leadership? What is cost leadership? What is cost leadership? Producing the product at the lowest possible cost and putting it to the market. That is called cost leadership. Right? Then what is the other one? Differentiation. So making your product as much as possible different to the similar competitor products in the market. So the main strategies they calculate. Main components they calculate. Api moke the move වෙන්නේ. ඒවා හදන්න ඕනේ CEO. Business strategy and management of that. Okay, understood the difference. Then, and whatever the responsibility is given to him, whatever the strategy is being given to him, he needs to achieve it. Corporate strategy, they are the passe. He movement karna kela, arrange decide karana passe ek run implement karna on CEO. Right? So the business strategy is under him. So business strategy will be managed by him. He needs to set up business strategy, ensure that all the resources are there to do it, and achieve the objectives. It is by using those resources. That is what is meant here. Then he needs to look at the investment options that are available for the company to move forward. He needs to take care of the risk management. He needs to establish the company management team and the support that is needed. Board committees, he can give recommendation, and he needs to connect with the stakeholders. So these 6 are his functions, role. Now we are coming to an important point. Many jurisdictions, many countries, with regards to their corporate governance, they're thinking whether CEO and the chairman positions should be held by one person or should be separated among 2 people. Right? So we can see that if this is held by one person, there are a lot of issues in that. They came a very demanding role. Chairman as the head of the board, he has vast a lot of responsibilities to be fulfilled. CEO as the head of the company, he is having a lot of responsibility to look after. So if these 2 roles are held by one person, he will not have enough time to look after each role. There are demanding roles. You can see that it says all governance report acknowledge the importance of having division of responsibilities at the head of the organization to avoid the situation where one individual has unfettered controls over decision making. Unfettered control the CEO chairman right? The chances that he can influence the people to get what he wants is very high. Right? Unfettered power. So if these 2 are held by one person, there is unfettered control on decision making. Yeah, powerful. board decision making will influence කරන්න එයා හරි powerful. The simplest way to do this is to separate the role of chairman and CEO, and it should be given to two people. The justification are, first one, as I said, demands of the roles. Here බලන්න. මේ දෙක දෙන්නෙකුට දෙන්න ඕනේ කියන එක argue කරන reasons මේ තියෙන්නේ. So as I said, these two roles demand two different things. It reflects the reality that both jobs are demanding roles, and ultimately the idea that no one person would be able to do both jobs well, right? The CEO can then run the company, the chairman can run the board and take the lead in listening with shareholders. දෙක දෙන්නා මේ දෙකට take care කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් මොනවද තියෙන main task. දෙවෙනි එක තමයි අර unfettered power. If you look at the authority, there's an important difference between authority of the chairman and authority of the CEO. The chairman carries the authority of the board, where the chief executive has authority which is delegated by the board. Right? Board එකේ authority එක තමයි chairman ට තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි CEO ට තියෙන්නේ board එකෙන් එයාට delegate කරපු authority එක. Okay? Separating the roles emphasize that the chairman is acting on behalf of the board, whereas chief executive has the authority given in terms of appointment. එයාගේ appointment එකෙන් තමයි එයාට authority එක දීලා තියෙන්නේ. Having the same person in both roles means unfettered power is concentrated into one pair of hands. The board may be ineffective in controlling the chief executive if it is led by the CEO. The chairman ට බෑනේ CEO ගේ තියෙනවා control කරන්න. නේද? ඒතර යාමනේ CEO. ඒතර යා රන් කරනකොට කරන බුල් කෙලිනේ ඔක්කොම chairman හැටියට යාට raise කරන්න බෑ. යා raise කරන්නේ නැහැ. Will he raise his own issues? Right? එයා කරන දේවල් disclose කරයිද? වැරදෙන තැන් disclose කරයිද? There are lot of issues in transparency of how CEO has acted. And you understand? Right? Chairman Yamunot, will he disclose whatever the things that he is doing in the organization to the board level? Right? It's the my theory issues. Then, conflict of interest. The separation of roles avoid the risk of conflict of interest. The chairman can concentrate on representing the interest of shareholders. So there is no conflict of interest එනවා. මේ දෙක එක්කෙනෙක් ළඟ තිබ්බහම. මොකද as I said, the CEO, whatever he has done, he will not raise up as the chairman, because that may conflict of his personal interest and what he has done. ඒක නිසා separate this role and make chairman ensuring the interest of the shareholders. Then the accountability. The board cannot make CEO accountable for management if it is held by the chairman. Accountability එකක් දෙන්න බෑ. යාමනේ chairman වෙන්නේ. So there is the issue whether he will be accountable for the CEO's role. Next one, board opinions. Separation of the role means that board is more able to express its concern effectively by providing point of reporting for non-executives, right? So non-executives will given the more chance to be independent and ask questions. මේ දෙකම එක්කෙනෙක් කරගම කතා කරන්න ඒවා දෙන්නේ නැහැ chance එක. Questions raise කරන්න දෙන්නේ යාමනේ chairman. The chairman and control කරන board meetings and all that. If he is questioning, if the non-executives are questioning about the management or the CEO, will those issues be taken up? Right? My board opinions will be denied. Control over information. Chairman and information monata share කරන්න කියලා. I told you, chairman is the one who decides what information needs to be shared among the board members. So will he give the enough information for the board members? That is the second issue. Last one, compliance. Separation allowable compliance with governance best practices, hence reassurance for shareholders. In the compliance wise, it is best advice is separate. Compliance wise separate. Lanka with කියලා තියෙන governance code එකේ better to separate these two rules කියලා. Right? But if it is held by one person, there are other ways that you need to ensure they are doing their jobs in the proper way. Right? There are so many other disclosures you have to bring to ensure this chairman and CEO roles does not get affected if it is held by one person. There are disclosures. I will show you in the code. Right? Code එකේ කියනවා ලංකාවේ code එකේ these two needs to be separated. But we saw in Haley's it is not the case. The code එක voluntary නේ. කවුරු නීතියෙන් කියලා නැහැ නේ මේක separate කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. So it's a voluntary. So one person can hold it. But in such a case, there are other things that you have to fulfill to ensure these two roles will not get affected if it is held by one person. And so the main justification why these two roles needs to be separated. What was the first one? The කට්ටිය නැගිටින්න බලන්න. ඉතින් වැටෙනවා මේ වන්දන්නේ. Huh? First one is why it is needed to be separated because demand of the roles. Two roles demand different things. Second one, they are going to be unfettered authority with one person if it is given to both the roles given to one person. It's a powerful venom. Right? That is what is called unfettered power. Third one, there can be lot of conflict of interest. Right? Lot of conflict of interest will happen. You can't make CEO accountable for implementing business decisions. Third one, board will not be free to express their opinions. Next one, the right information will not be shared among the board members. There is an issue in information sharing. Last one, according to the compliances, it says better to separate these two roles. Right? Compliance wise with make a separate karana. So these are the reasons that are put forward to separate these two roles. But people say it's okay that these two positions are held by one person. Their arguments are these two. First, they say that if it is held by one person, you can create unity with the board and the executive team. The board we will behave separately and the management team will behave separate because two separate people are headed to these two teams, right? So then there will be high chance there can be conflicts among these two groups. Okay? But when these two are held by one, so whatever the board decisions being taken, CEO has been there, his presence was there, so he can nicely put into the management team and get those things implemented. Right? That is what is meant by creation of unity. Right? Having single leader creates unity within the companies. Having two leaders that disagree and create deadlocks. Right? Conflicts board management team CEO conflict. Then it's very difficult to run the organization. That is the first reason. Second one, they are telling, since CEO runs the organization, he knows what is happening inside the organization. So he is the one who is having the information of what is happening. So he is becoming the chairman. It's easy for a board to give the right give the information and to make the decisions needed. Right? That is the second point that it says. The holders of both posts needs considerable knowledge of the company. Normally, as the chairman, who do you think we have to appoint? executive, non-executive කියලා ජාති දෙකක් තියෙනවානේ board එකේ. අපි chairman හැටියට දාන එක්කෙනා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කවුරු වෙන්න ඕනේ? මේ දෙකොල්ලන්ගේ. Non-executive directors ළඟින් එක්කෙනෙක් තමයි හරිනම් company එකේ chairman වෙන්න ඕනේ. Not the executive, not from the executive directors. You have to appoint someone as the chairman from the non-executive members. Because he doesn't have any strings or attachment to the company. He comes as an outsider, right? So he is free to do his job. He doesn't have attachment. That's what this point says. Normally, if the non-executive director is appointing as a chairman, he doesn't have knowledge about the organization, right? So if he doesn't have the knowledge, means he can't make the right decisions needed for the organization. That is why they are telling, if you appoint the CEO, he is working, he knows what is happening at the business level. So it's easy for him to bring things to the board and make the right decisions needed. So according to these 2 points, they are saying appointing same person as the CEO and the chairman is all right. Is all right. හරි? එතකොට මම ගිය පාර මේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් දැම්මා. ඒක හරි උත්තරේ ලියලා තිබ්බේ නෑ ළමයි. Right? I asked what are the arguments which says that CEO and the chairman's roles need to be separated. So what I expected was the previous 2 slides points. Right? So you need to understand what are the reasons why we are telling these 2 roles need to be separated. And what are the points that we are telling? No, one person can hold this. Okay? As the last point, it says this. Right? Whatever said and done, it suggests that CEO should not go and become the chairman of the same company. If a CEO did become the chairman, the main risk is that they will interfere in matters that are the responsibility of the CEO and thus exercise undue influence. Right? මේ දෙක එකට තියනවා කියන්නේ there are going to be lot of issues. එතකොට we finished 2 characters now in the board. What are those? Chairman and the CEO. Now we are coming to the directors. When it's come to directors, you have the main one is executive directors. Right? බලන්න මේ executive directors ලා කියන්නේ කවුද කියලා. Who are these executive directors? Know how to write English. Right? So, any idea? Any idea of taking the smart board? Lanka? Huh? Here. This one. So if you take this structure, you can see that as I have showed, you have the shareholders here, right? Then under that you have the board. So in the board, You have executive directors plus non-executive directors, NEDs. Right? So board consists of this, and you have the management team here. So shareholders have given the responsibility to the board. Okay? එතකොට management team, who are the people are there? CEO and C good employees. Right? So as the executive directors, what you will bring is these people. Right? What you will bring is these people. But here what you have to understand is, we are talking about the role at different, we are talking about the responsibilities of the different roles. The CEO මෙතෙන්ට ගියන් පස්සේ මෙයා executive director ගේ role එක මොකක්ද කියලා බලන්න. Can you understand? When he is CEO here, what I explained was what is his role. හොඳට තේරුම් ගන්න එක. When he is CEO, those were the responsibilities that he needs to fulfill. What were the responsibilities? First one was strategic oversight and management. Second one, investment and financing options. Third one, risk management. Fourth one, selecting the management team and running the organization. Next one was supporting the subcommittees. Can you remember? And the last one was liaising with the stakeholders. The A6 roles he has to fulfill as the CEO. Okay. Now he will be appointed to the board as the executive director. Then he is doing the role of the executive director there. Right? එකම පුද්ගලයා post keeper responsible වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් එයා chairman උතුලක් මොකද වෙන්නේ? He is then CEO and the chairman. Two roles are held by him. When the CEO becomes the chairman, because එයාට chairman ගේ role එකක් තියෙනවා. Organization එක run කරනකොට CEO ගේ role එකක් තියෙනවා. Right? So when he is become CEO and the executive director, when he comes here, he has to fulfill the executive director role. Right? Then he comes to the company, he has to run the CEO role. Right? එකම අවශ්‍යයි. But he is holding two positions. So appointing someone, now CEO coming to the board or becoming an executive director is not a must. You have to understand. සමහර company වල CEO board එකට ගේන්නේ නැහැ. Board member කෙනෙක් නෙවෙයි. සමහර company වල CEO board member කෙනෙක්. Right? So it differs from company to company how they have set up the things, their corporate governance structure. Right? In such situation, who will come as the executive directors? Right? Other එක company එකක් නම් ඒ company in other C-suite employees ලා recognition එකක් හැටියට ගේනවා. Group එකක් නම් දැන් Hales වල වගේ නම් how the executive directors හැටියට ගාලා තියෙනවා. මාතෘකාවක් it is how the they have got employees who are working in subsidiaries. Right? Group එකේ නෙමෙයි හදන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. ඒ group එකේ තමයි annual report එක. Not subsidiary annual reports. It was group, Hales group. So as the executive directors of the group, they bring the executives of subsidiaries to here. That is how they have set up. So so that is how it is going to work. Okay? So when I'm talking about a position, you have to look that person. Now he is the executive director. So as the executive director, what is his role? What is the, as a CEO, what is his role? Different hats leads to different roles. Huh? Right. So So executive directors like Abahama, as I said, always remember executive director means a person holding a position in the organization. A board member who is holding a position in the organization. As it says, an executive member of the board is an individual that holds operational position of the company. CEO, Chief Operating Officer, CFO, Managing Director, or continuous in the board, right? So those are the executive members who are in the executive top management team who will be promoted as executive directors. These directors are best informed about the company's business and its challenges since they make decisions daily about company operations. Right? Since they are involved in operations, they are the people who know best about the organization's current situation, what is happening there, and all that. So you have to bring these people into the board, otherwise, the people who are coming from outside, NEDs, doesn't know anything what is happening there in the company. So that is why you bring these executives to the board. They are ultimately responsible for company's operating results. Board in the responsibilities of the they have to ensure the operating results which are expected is delivered. The composition of the executive directors on a company board can vary depending on the company size, industry, and specific needs. In some cases, other senior executives with specialized roles relevant to the company's operation might also serve as executive directors. Right? Executive directors are so what are their role? Executive director role right? Executive directors play a crucial role in company's board, combining their operational knowledge and management expertise to guide the organization effectively. First, strategic oversight. They are working in the organization day-to-day activities. So they are coming to the board now. So by coming to the board, now they have to give the strategic oversight. So they have business strategy and business strategy and CEO. Then they are in the board executive director. The executive director is corporate strategy. Organization whole and corporate strategy. Right? Take strategic oversight. Executive directors are deeply involved in strategic planning and decision-making process of the company because now they are in the board. They work alongside with non-executive. How much board strategic oversight? Board I said no. So their first task as an executive director is this strategic oversight. Normal board task method දෙවෙනි එක මේක තමයි මේගොල්ලන්ගේ අලුත්ම දේ. මේගොල්ලෝ වෙනස් වෙන්නේ මේකේ. මොකක්ද? Operational management. They give strategic oversight as the executive, as a board member, but they do this as what? Because they are involved in top management team also. Right? They are responsible for day-to-day management of the company. This includes overseeing various departments, ensuring that operations are run smoothly, and making executive decisions to address any issues arise. Then what do they do? Board communication. Since they are in the board, whatever the decisions they are taken in the board, they are the people who communicate to the business, organization, operations. Right? That is what it says, board communication. They are the link, they are the bridge. Right? Board take decisions, organization take transfer through them for the implementation of those, whatever the decisions being taken at the board level. Executive directors act as a bridge between the board and the company's management team. They provide detailed reports and updates to the board about the company's performance, challenges, and opportunities, ensuring transparency and informed decision making. Bridge communication management team board එකයි අතර. Next one, leadership and guidance. Since they are also part of the executive team, they provide the leadership to the company's employees and management team. This involves setting performance standards, motivating the staff, and fostering a productive and positive work environment. So as a board member, they come to the management team and they set up the organization environment needed to give the leadership. Right? Board එකේ member කෙනෙක් හැටියට එයා ඇහිරි ඉඳලා එයා executive team එකට ආවම ඒ leadership එක දෙනවා by setting the performance standards, motivating the staff, fostering and productive positive work environment. නැත්තම් ළමයි කොහොමද අර board එක management team එකටයි company එකටයි fix වෙන්නේ? There should be someone to fix it. Right? There should be someone to fix it. So fixing එක එන්නේ මේ executive directors ලාට. Otherwise, board එක non-executives ලා විතරක් හිටියොත් ඒගොල්ලෝ ගන්න decisions අපි කොහොමද company එකට ගෙනල්ලා set කරන්නේ? ඒ set කරන part එක එන්නේ මේ executive directors ලා. Executive directors ලා ඉන්න board executive team එකට connect වෙන නිසා තමයි ඒවා organization එකේ implement වෙන්නේ. Right? මම කිව්වේ අපි හදන vision strategies employees ලාට යන්න නම් මේක කොහොමද transfer වෙන්න ඕනේ? KPI එකක් හරහා කියලා මම කිව්වා නේද? The KPI හදන්නේ කවුද? It's executive team. Right? So their purpose is whatever the decisions that are taken there, ඒවා ඒ විදිහට මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ වගේ පොඩි employees ට මේ target මේ මෙහෙම කරන්න කිව්වොත් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. So that it needs to be converted into a language that you can understand. What you can understand is a KPI. එහෙනම් ඒක KPI එකක් කියලා හදලා ගේන්නේ අර උඩගත්ත decision targets තමයි convert කරලා ගේන්නේ. Right? So that is how they give the leadership needed. Then they also need to ensure that this point, governance and compliance, ensuring that company adheres to the legal standard, ethical guidelines, and corporate governance practices. Executive directors help to establish policies and procedures that promote good governance and compliance requirements. The executive directors of my organization regulate a good governance practices ethical. Last one, financial management. They are often involved in financial planning, budget management, and financial reporting. This includes working with finance team to ensure that company remains financially healthy and meet the fiscal responsibility. So these 6 are what they do, right? Mainly, so you can see that they are the bridge between board and the company. If they were not there, board decisions will be with one set of people and organization will run separately. So there should be a link between these two. That bridge is made through executive directors. And so these are their primary responsibilities. You have 6 primary responsibilities. Finally, it says the relationship between the executive directors and the board chair is particularly significant. Chairman and the executive director's relationship is very important. I'm talking about when chairman and CEO are two people. It's important to maintain. A strong collaborative relationship can set a positive tone for the entire organization, promoting mutual trust and respect among board members. So there should be good connection between chairman and the executive directors all the time. If they are conflicting or arguing all the time, it's very difficult to take decisions at the board level. All executive directors are vital in ensuring that board strategic vision is effectively implemented. I told you, board strategic vision effectively implemented through day-to-day operations. Their vision needs to be implemented in day-to-day operations. Then executive directors are the ones who need to do that part. Okay, there's no any other person can do it. Only executive directors. The needy. Maintain the balance between strategic oversight and operational execution. Right. What are we going to do? ඒක ඉවර කරන්න එපා ළමයි මොනවා කරන්න. ඔයගලගේ syllabus එකේ තියෙන්නේ මේ වගේ ඒවා. I can give you for that part to be done. You go through my I have given, we'll take a small break. Break in the sense I will talk, you guys may. Right? I have for you guys, for every topic, right? For the board, there is a tutorial. Board, we did that questions, MCQs, which covers the things. But for this part, right? Because I felt you guys are not answering properly the questions, right? Mulu slides ඔක්කොම එකතු කරලා I have developed key questions. හරි? මේ questions answer කරනවා කියන්නේ syllabus A topic එක covered. හරි? ඒකට exam එකට you have to go through these questions which I have said. තේරෙනවද? දැන් ඔයගලන්ට ගොඩක් අය confused දැන් type එකේ ඒවා කොහොමද question එකට එන්නේ කියලා. So from the first slide until the last slide, I have created questions. Okay, right? So from the board membership, executive directors, non-executive directors, up to here, all the information in those slides I have put it into questions. Right? And the exam එකට පාඩම් කරනවා කියන්නේ you should be able to answer these questions. Right. Then I have the scenario question. A scenario about a board membership, different members, conflicts. Again, their roles are not in aligned. ඒගොල්ලන්ට තියෙන responsibilities කරගන්න බෑ. Then this case asks you to recommend certain things. And you have to write a report, right? So A question එක තමයි මේ 2 කියලා තියෙන්නේ. So you have to be ready for something like this, and you have to prepare answers for these things. Answers with my හදලා තියෙන්නේ. I will not put it down, right? Okay? මේක කරන්න වෙනවා ඔයගලන්ට. නැත්නම් ඔයගලන්ට අන්තිමට පාඩම් කරනකොට මුකුත් මතක නැහැ. Okay? So this covers everything. Same like that. ඊළඟට අපි කරන board committees වලට for board committees also I have made a tutorial. Board committees actually questions. Boards හතරයි තියෙන්නේ. So there's nothing much. So I have made these questions for that. I have uploaded all this, hurry, to the LMS. So if you can find the answers to these ones, you know the tutorial really well. Okay, right. So we'll take a break. Come by 3:30. Break didi tamai karanne ennuwa. Naththam nindha yana matath epa. Kati nidhi bhagya. Ila break ekak bilen. 3:30 enna one ya. Sharp 3:30 ya. I want to finish it. Okay, shall we start? Then we can finish it off. Can you call the others? Please call the others, okay? Right. Okay, guys. Now we are coming towards the last character in the board. It is non-executive directors. So more than the executive directors, this part is longer because non-executive directors are special set of people who you bring to the board. So their role is bit fast in the board. Therefore, more slides are there with regards to this part. Okay. So if you look at who are non-executive directors, as the topic, as the first point says, non-executive directors have no executive or managerial responsibility. Right? ඒගොල්ලෝ කිසිම managerial responsibility එකක් නැහැ. They are not involved in operational matters. That is what is meant by no executive responsibilities. Non-executive directors should provide a balancing influence and play a key role in reducing conflict of interest between management and shareholders. So why you bring them to the board is to do this. They have to have a balanced influence and they are the people who are there to reduce the conflicts that will happen between management and the shareholders. Because management, they are also coming as executive directors to the board. ඒගොල්ලෝයි shareholders ලාට conflicts වෙනවා because they will executives will work according to their personal agendas. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ bonus වැඩි කරගන්න ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ agendas තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ employees ලානේ organization එකේ. ඒතකොට when they are trying to fulfill their personal benefits rather than thinking about the organizational long term, then there can be conflicts between shareholders and management team. So make a balance කරන්න තමයි අපි non-executives ලාගේ. The non-executives ලාගේ නම් non-executives are always keep an eye on what this management team does. Even if they come as the executive directors to the board, that is why you are expected non-executives to question from them. Right? ඒක තමයි අපි non-executives ලාගේ අර balancing influence එක තියාගන්න. Non-executive directors should provide a balancing influence and play a key role in reducing conflict of interest between management and the shareholders. Or again, management can including executive directors. Management again, executive directors that they the shareholders like අතර තියෙන conflicts විසඳන්න නම් මේගොල්ලෝ ඉන්න ඕනේ. They should provide reassurance to shareholders, particularly institutional shareholders, that management is acting in the best interest of the organization. ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි assure කරන්නේ. These management are working according to what is expected from them. Otherwise, if there are only executive directors, there will be no one to bring assurance to the shareholders. The board එකේ ඉන්නේ executive directors ලා නම්, if the all of them are executive directors, no point ඒගොල්ලෝ management team එකේ ඉන්නේ. නේද? එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඕන දේවල් තමයි කරන්නේ. shareholders ලා interest බලන්නේ නැහැ. Right? මම පෙන්වන්නේ අර agency theory එකේ තියෙන problems, right? They are acting upon their benefits. So to manage that, you are bringing a board. Even in the board, if you have more executive directors, then no point. That is why you bring the non-executives to manage the situation. And non-executives ලා නිසා තමයි shareholders get assurance that these management will according to the interest of the organization. So there are around 5 ways that non-executives can support an organization. 4 ways. There are 4 ways non-executive useful for the organization. First one, to make strategies. Since they are coming from different backgrounds, since they have worked as non-executive directors in other companies, or they may be holding executive position in other companies. That is possible, huh? In a company, executive කෙනෙක් මට මේ company මගේ company non-executive director පුළුවන්. So he is bringing experience from those companies, working in different sectors. So that knowledge is supporting when we are making strategies in our organization. Right? That is what the first point says. They will support for strategy making. It says non-executive director should contribute to and challenge the direction of the strategy. They should contribute to build the strategy, and whatever the strategy that is always discussing, they need to challenge. That is called the challenging. What do you think? Why do you think this way? Why can't that be in that way? That is called challenging. Right? So that is expected from them. That is the first task. They should use their own business experience to reinforce their contribution. The Walker Review on Corporate Governance in UK banks and other financial institutions highlighted the challenge stage as an essential part of board discussion. Challenging is an essential part. Board එක challenge කරන්න නැත්නම් ළමයි හැම කියන දේම expect කරනවා නම් there's no point having non-executive. ආයෙත් ඉස්සෙල්ලා කියනවා වගේ. ඒ challenge කරන දෙයට තමයි අපි මේගොල්ලෝම ගේන්නේ. Question කරන්න, challenge කරන්න මේවල් දේවල් වලින් තමයි things get more clearer, things get more transparent, right? If there are issues, it will come up. So that challenging part is what is mostly expected from them to bring to the board. As the last point says, the most critical need is for an environment in which effective challenge of the executive is expected and achieved in the board before decisions are taken on major risk and strategic issues. Always challenge the executives who bring these ideas. Right? Question them. Then things will get more clearer before the decision making is done. Bring your experience to make support strategy making. Then is challenge. Whatever the strategy being proposed, challenge it. Then before the final decision being taken, things can get more clearer. දෙවැනි එක තමයි scrutiny. Scrutinize කරනවා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඉතින්ම බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා මේ executives ලා මොනවද කරන්නේ කියන එක. Non-executive directors should scrutinize the performance of executive management in meeting goals and objectives and monitor the reporting of performance. So they need to keep an eye on what management is doing and make sure to evaluate their performance. Are they achieving the targets being set? ඒක හොඳට scrutinize. They will look after කරන්නේ non-executive directors. They should represent the shareholders' interest to ensure agency issues doesn't arise to reduce shareholder value. They need to do this scrutiny to ensure that ඒගොල්ලෝ හොඳට ඇස් අරගෙන අනේජස මොනවද කරන්නේ අපේ ටාගට්ස් අපි කියෝ දේවල් achieve කරන්න කියන එක monitor කරන්න ඕනේ. They need to do that. Then third one is risk. Non-executive directors should satisfy themselves that the financial information is accurate and the financial controls and systems of risk management are robust. They need to oversee whether financial information is accurate, whether the financial control systems are there and they work properly, and this risk management approach in the organization is okay. Right? They are responsible to make sure they are run in the proper way. ඒගොල්ලෝ හදන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ එක oversight කරනවා, check කරනවා, oversee කරනවා, right? That is what they do. Then with regards to people, right? So they were responsible for strategy, supporting the strategy making and challenging the strategy. Then පළවෙනි එක දෙවෙනි එක තමයි they have to scrutinize what managers are doing. Third one is ensuring proper risk management is there. Last one is people. When it's come to the human resource of the organization, there is a part they have to pay. When it's come to the people, there are 4 things that they can do. First one, non-executive directors are responsible for determining appropriate level of remuneration for executives. Right? They are the people who are in the remuneration committee. Right? Non-executive directors තමයි remuneration committee එකේ ගොඩක් ඉන්නේ. So they are responsible to deciding salaries of the management teams and the senior management. Right? It says remuneration for executives and are key figures in the appointment and removal of senior management in succession planning. So as the members of the remuneration committee, they involved in these things. Right? Executives like salaries, ඒගොල්ලන් appoint කරන එක, remove කරන එක, ඒක responsible. That is people, right? දෙවෙනි එක මොකද කරන්නේ? UK Hicks report suggests that non-executive directors has an important and inescapable relationship with shareholders. Those are also people. Shareholders වත් එක්කත් මේගොල්ලෝ තමයි connect වෙලා ඉන්න ඕනේ හුඟක්. Third one. Hicks recommend that one or more non-executive directors should take the direct responsibility for shareholders' concern, should attend regular meeting with shareholders. So one of the directors, non-executive directors, needs to be specially appointed to link with the shareholders, talk with them, get their concerns and all that. Lastly, they are telling, out of these non-executive directors, you have to appoint one person as independent non-executive director. One of the independent non-executive directors is senior independent director. බලන්න හොඳට අහන්න, right? One of the non-executive director is to appoint as independent non-executive as a senior independent director to provide a sounding board for the chairman and to serve as an intermediary for other directors. Again, board they are telling appoint one of the non-executive director as a senior independent director. The board taking MEDs lage එක්කෙනෙක්ව appoint කරන්නලු senior independent director කෙනෙක් හැටියට එයා support කරන්න ඕනලු chairman ට board එක manage කරගෙන run කරගෙන යන්න උදව් කරන්න. Right? So these are recommendations given by different corporate governance codes. Right? With regards to people management, that is why it says people. With regards to people management, these are the things that they can involve in. Right? First one was they can involve in remuneration setting for the executive appointment and removal. Second one, they have to link with shareholders. So these 2 points talking about linking with shareholders, meeting regularly with the shareholders and all that. Last one, they are telling, from the non-executive directors, appoint one person as senior independent director to support the chairman to run the chairman to serve as an intermediary with other directors and shareholders if they have concerns that cannot be solved through other channels. Right? Shareholders like board එකේ අතර මොනහරි තියනවා නම් discussion solve කරන්න බැරි ඒ වගේ වෙලාවට යාට intermediary කෙනෙක් හැටියට support කරන්න පුළුවන්. There are another 4 ways that NED is supporting, right? Strategy making. Second one was scrutiny. Third one was risk management. Fourth one was people management, right? People management. Right. Now, when it's come to a non-executive director, he's coming as someone from outside to a board of another company. So there are certain characteristics that he needs to have, right? And board members like characteristics අපි කතා කරන්නේ මතකද? list එකක් පහක් තිබ්බා. ඒ වගේ non-executives වෙනකොට there are certain things you expect from them. They have to hold highest ethical standards of integrity and probity. Right? Never normal qualities that any person should have. Right? You have to have highest ethical standards of integrity and probity. You have to support executives in their leadership of the business while monitoring them. You have to support them as well as you have to monitor them. Right? Executives that support කරනවා වගේම ideas දීලා knowledge share කරලා support කරනවා. ඒ වගේම ඒගොල්ලන්ව monitor කරන්නත් ඕනේ. Questions intelligently, debate constructively, challenge rigorously, and decide dispassionately. President. ලස්සන වචන ටිකක් තියෙනවා. Right? Question intelligently. ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න ඕනේ හැබැයි intelligent. ගොම් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න බෑ. Right? Question intelligently, debate constructively. Constructively debate කරන්න ඕනේ. argue කරගන්න ඕනේ. Challenge rigorously. Challenge කරන්න ඕනේ. Executives present කරන දේවල් challenge කරන්න ඕනේ. Decide dispassionately. So those things, those qualities should be there as a non-executive director. Listen sensitively to the views of others inside and outside the board. Because he, as an independent party, have to look at the views of what other executive board members are telling, as well as shareholders, employees, other people, inside and outside the organization. He needs to listen to their concerns. That is what is called listen sensitively. Gain the trust and respect of other board members. Last one, promote the higher standard of corporate governance and seeks compliance with provision of code wherever possible. Whether you are behaving, when you are appointing as a NED, whether you are following the corporate governance standards and compliances. So these characteristics are needed as a non-executive director. Here you have advantages and disadvantages of having them in the board. For this detailed explanation, I have uploaded a sheet, right? This one, right? Advantages and disadvantages of having them. So you can read this and understand. They bring experience and knowledge. These are the advantages. They bring experience and knowledge. They bring different perspective. They look at the things in the different ways, right? So they bring different perspective than executive directors. Executive directors are working there. So they might not look at the different angles when they are making a decision. But these people, since they are outsiders, they are free mind, they can look at the things in different ways. That is what is called perspective. Then reassurance. Good non-executive directors are often comfort factor for third parties. So the ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ අනිත් අයට පොඩි reassurance එකක් තියෙනවා මේගොල්ලෝ දේවල් question කරලා හරියට transparently දේවල් හදයි කියන එක. Reassurance. Then contribution. See, their contribution. Right? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ role එක අල්ලා තියෙනවා ජාති කීපයකට. මේ කියලා බලන්න. The English businessman Sir John Harvey Jones pointed out there are certain roles non-executive directors are well suited to play. Sometimes they play father confessor role, being confident for the chairman and the directors. සමහර වෙලාවට ඒගොල්ලෝ oil can roll එකක් කරනවා. මොකක්ද ඒ? Inventoring to the intervening to make the board run more effectively. And sometimes they are like high sheriff. Why? If necessary, taking steps to remove the chairman or chief executive. 3 roles they are doing. සමහරලාට sheriff කෙනෙක් වගේ හරියට වැඩ කරන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒ කට්ටිය වෙලවනවා. Right? සමහරලාට oil can එකක් වගේ intervening to make the board run more effectively. Sometimes like a father comfortable අර කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් level එකේ being confident for the chairman and the directors. අර මිනිස්සුන්ට ඇවිල්ලා කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් comfortable කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් character එකක්. Right? So there are 3 roles that NEDs play in the board. Okay? So then you have this. The most important advantage perhaps lies in the dual nature of non-executive directors' role. Non-executive directors are full board members who are expected to have the level of knowledge that full board membership implies. At the same time, they are meant to provide so-called strong, independent element on the board. Right? They are independent. It should imply that they have the knowledge and the detachment to be able to monitor the company strategy and affairs effectively. Dual role කියන්නේ board member වගේම monitor කෙනෙක්. ඒගොල්ලෝ board member හැටියට ඒගොල්ලන් strategy හදන්න ඒව මෙවට ideas දෙනවා වගේම that is one role. Other one is because they are independent, they can monitor it. Monitor the management. ඒකට මේ dual role එක කරනවා. They are supporting for the strategy and they are supporting for the monitoring. So this dual role can be played only non-executive. Executives ලාට බෑනේ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට monitor කරන්න බෑනේ board එකේ executive management team එක, right? Only the dual role can be run by the non-executive. Those are the advantages. So these are the disadvantage. Right? Lack of independence. අපි හිතුවනේ මේගොල්ලෝ independent කියලා. They have some sort of sometimes attachment. Not directly, maybe sometimes the family members through other ways, they are not independent. That is what it says. In many organizations, non-executive directors may lack independence. There are in practice number of ways in which executive directors can be linked to a company. Can be a supplier for the company in some indirect way. Can be a customer of that company in some indirect way. උහෙන් හරි relationship එකක් තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට prejudice. What do you mean by that? They are maybe prejudicing certain companies against widening the recruitment of non-executive directors to include people proposed other than by the board or to include stakeholder representative. Prejudice means අපි non-executives ලා කියලා ගේන්නෙම executives ලා propose කරන අය. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට independent එකක් නැහැ. තේරෙනවද? අපි එළියෙම දන්නේ නැතිව මිනිස්සු ගේන්නේ නැහැ නේ ළමයි. එයාගේ connection එකක් තියෙන එක්කෙනෙක්නේ ගේන්නේ. දන්නවද? අපි කවුරුවත් දන්නේ නැති relation connection එකක් නැති මිනිස්සු අපි ගේන්නේ නැහැ non-executives එක්ක. අපි කොහෙන් හරි අපි කරන යාළුවෙක් හරි කවුරු හරි නේ ඔය ගේන්නේ non-executive කියන. ඒතර ඔය මිනිස්සයාට ඔය කියන තරම් independent එකක් තියනවාද කියන එක ප්‍රශ්නයක්. That is what it says. Always you recruit non-executive director, people proposed. Right? There is a less chance that you will bring people who are not proposed by the board. You always by the board, you always bring people that is known to you. And next one is preference for best directors. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් හරි famous අයව තමයි ගේන්නේ. අනික famous අය ගේනකොට අපි පොඩි company වලට එන්නේ නැහැ. ලොකු නමක් තියෙන companies වලට තමයි යන්න කැමති. That is the next one. says best run companies. High caliber non-executive directors may gravitate towards the best run companies. They don't come for normal small companies. Right. ඊළඟට තමයි enforcing views. Enforcing views will be difficult because you saw that in that board of Haley's, it's therefore out of 6. So how far they can enforce their views is questionable. Right? They're going to look at the board. So enforcing their views would be difficult. Sometimes preventing troubles. Not enough emphasis has given to the role of executive directors in preventing troubles. They may not be able to vote as expected from them, right? They may not be able to prevent the problems as expected from them. And they may not have enough time for company role, non-executive role, because they are holding, they may be board members of other companies. They may be an employee of a company. The regular වැඩ වැඩි. The regular expect කරපු time එක company එක ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. Other one is just one weakening board unity, right? When non-executive comes and question things for and drag in things that may harm the unity of the board, right? So මේව තමයි disadvantages, right? So those what I have put here. I have explained in that tute. Okay, so you can get further information from that. Then you have how many people that should be there as non-executive directors. Samanya board එක කොච්චරක් non-executives ලා ඉන්න ඕනද? Lead and see. How many people are needed at least? Some says the board should include non-executive directors of sufficient character and number for their views to be carried forward. Cover report New York Stock Exchange rule says that they should have majority of non-executive directors. Singapore board at least 1/3 of the board members should be non-executives. අපේ තියෙන්නේ rule එකක් තියෙනවා 1/3 තමයි අපේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ non-executives. Okay, so that is the composition that you should have. Then this is very important. How are you going to ensure they are independent? ඒගොල්ලෝ independent කියලා non-executive ලා independent කියලා how are you going to make sure? Because to fulfill their role, they have to be independent, right? Connections තියෙන්න බැහැ. So there are ways this independence is compromised. So firstly, I will show you what are the ways that independence can be compromised. If you read this, it says various safeguards can be put in place to ensure that non-executive directors remain independent, right? So first, we'll understand what are the ways that they are compromise the independence. First, take the connections, right? So you have to include these things to ensure there's no independent is maintained. Independent is maintained. First is connection. Make clear, right? Connections තියනවා නම් organization එකත් එක්ක those things needs to be report, right? Says non-executive director should have no business, financial or other connection with the company. කිසිම business dealing එකක්වත් financial ඒ කියන්නේ ණයක්වත් දීලා තියෙන්න බෑ. හරි එහෙම නැත්නම් කිසිම dealing එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ අගබදාරමේ you can't have your family member working in that company. Then that will lead to some connection. Okay? Recent report have widened the scope of business connection to include anyone who has been employee. The connection එක එනවා. connection එකක් ඇති වෙන්නේ මෙයා employee කෙනෙක් හැටියට හරි auditor කෙනෙක් හැටියට හරි or had a material business relationship as a supplier or customer over the last few years or served on the board for more than 9 years. Right? මෙහෙම වුණොත් we say there is a connection. Connection වෙන හැටි තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ. connection එකක් build වෙන හැටි. මේව තියාගන්න බෑ. Right? There should be no business financial connection. The connection can be in these forms. Connection can happen if you have become an employee or an auditor or had a material business relationship as a supplier or a customer. එහෙම නැත්නම් last few years you have served in the board for more than 9 years. In Sri Lanka also, for non-executives, you can't serve more than 9 years. අයින් කරන්න ඕනේ. Right? අවුරුදු 9කට වඩා board එකේ non-executive කෙනෙක් ඉන්න බෑ. ඒක මොකද වෙන්නේ? එයා ඉන්න familiar වෙනවා ඒ environment එකට. Connections build වෙනවා. Can you understand? ඒක නිසා ඒවත් කරන්න බෑ. 9 years වලට වඩා ඉන්න බෑ. 9 years කියන්නේ big time period එකක්. හරි? මේවායින් ඇතිවන connections නවතින්න ඕනේ. තියෙන්න බෑ. Right? There is no way that you can have connections LEDs with the business through these things. ඊළඟට cross directorialship. Make a very important. Cross directorialship means think my company is company A. Right? What I do is there's another company called company B and company B's executive director I am bringing to my company as a non-executive. Okay? මම යනවා company B එකේ මම ඒකේ executive director කෙනෙක්. හරි? So I am bringing company B executive director to my board as non-executive. එතන මම යනවා එයාගේ board එකේ non-executive. එතන මේ වගේ relationship එකට අපි කියනවා cross directorialships කියලා. තේරෙනවද? එතකොට ඒකේ relationship එකක් නේද එතන? නේ? එතන මම එයාගේ board එකේ ඉන්නවා. එයා මගේ board එකේ ඉන්නවා. එතකොට මම එයාගේ board එකට ගියාම එයාම මම question කරයිද? මොකද මම දන්නවා මගේ board එකට ආවම මට දෙනවා බැටේ. තේරෙනවද? එතකොට එතන තියෙන friendship එක, relationship එක. Because of what? Because of cross directorialship. Right? Cross directorialship. That is what it says. Right? You can have a look. බලන්න ඒක නේද කියලා. So you should not allow cross-directorialships. If you allow cross-directorialships, the person you bring as an executive director will not be independent. Will not be independent. ඊළඟ එක තමයි share options. කිසිම වෙලාවක shares ගන්න දෙන්න බෑ non-executive directors. They should not take part in share option schemes and their service should not be pensionable. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ non-executive service එක pensionable නැහැ. pension එකක් හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒගොල්ලන්ට. ඒකට හරිද? To maintain their independent status. This is intended to help ensure non-executive directors' detachment from executive directors and means that they can offer advice and scrutiny that is not influenced by the interest of company share price or short-term gains. ඒගොල්ලන්ට share options දුන්නොත් ඒගොල්ලෝ අරගොල්ලෝ executive directors ලත් එක්ක connect වෙලා වැඩ කරන්න ගන්නවා. හරි ඒත් එකම pension එකක් දුන්නොත් එහෙම නේද? මේ දෙන්නා detach කරන්න ඕනේ අපි. ඒ detach කරන්න නම් මේවට non-executive directors you should not allow them to access. Right? ඊළඟට තමයි appointment terms. Appointments should be for a specific term, often for 3 years, and reappointment should not be automatic. Automatically reappoint වෙන්න බෑ. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ assess කරලා ඒගොල්ලන් ගැලපෙනවා නම් විතරයි reappoint වෙන්නේ. The board as a whole should decide on their nomination and selection. Last one, advice. Procedure should exist whereby non-executive directors may take independent advice at the company's expense if necessary. Right? If they want to take some advice from external parties with regards to a matter in the company, they can do that. Right? Company ke matter එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ information නැහැ. ඒකට ඒගොල්ලෝ කාට හරි ඒකට advice එකක් ගන්නවා නම් ඒගොල්ලන් decision make කරන්න බෑනේ හරියට. ඒගොල්ලන්ට තේරුමක් නැත්තම් they will consult someone, take their opinion. ඒතකොට ඒකට fee එකක් ගෙවන්න ඕනේනේ. ඒ fee එක you can reimburse from the company. Independent advice at the company's expense if necessary. This helps the non-executive directors gain outside objective advice on areas of concern. So through these ways, right, they can maintain independence. They should not have any connections. They should not have cross-directorialships. They should not contribute to share options. Appointment term should be for 3 months and they should not be automatically reappointed, and they should be allowed to take advice from third parties when necessary to fulfill their areas of concern. Then, apart from that, to maintain the independence, you can do these things as well. Right? අපිට තව independence තියාගන්න ඕන නම් we can appoint non-executive directors from the industries not are related to us. Right? ඒතර අපිට connection එකක් නැහැ නේද? මම ඉන්නේ banking, මම IT sector එකේ කවුරු හරි non-executive කෙනෙකුට ගේනවා. ඒතර අපේ හිම relationship එකක් නැහැ. මොකද industry වෙනස් නේ. එකම industry එකම company අතර මාරු වෙනකොට තමයි ප්‍රශ්නේ එන්නේ. තේරෙනවද? ඒතකොට we can bring people outside the industry. That is what it says here. Recruit non-executive directors from outside the industry in which the company operates. Networks threatening independence can build up within industries. Right? එකම industry අය මාරු වෙනකොට එතන relationship එකක් තියෙනවා ළමයි. industry අය දන්නවනේ අපි හැමෝම එක එකනාට. ඒතකොට එතන network threat එකක් තියෙනවා අපිට. But when you bring someone from outside the industry, right, may network threatening in the net. Take a independence of impact when net. That is what it says. Network threatening independence can build up within industries as staff move between companies and collaborate on industry bodies. Industry bodies එක connected නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ කොච්චර කරත් chartered accountants ලා එකතු වෙනවා CAK meetings වලදී. තේරෙනවද? ඒකට relationship හදන්න. එකම industry ඉන්නකොට අපි connected. මේ network කියන එක අපේ independence compromise කරනවා. ඒතර මතක තියන්න අපි network එකක ඉන්න එකෙන් වාසි තියනවා වගේම ඒකෙන් හරියට අපේ independently act කරන එකට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා. කොහෙන් හරි මචන් level එකෙන් set වෙලා තියෙනවා. එකම industry එකේ ඉඳලා එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ industry bodies කියන්නේ ඔය සීමා chartered engineers ලාගේ doctors ලාගේ තියෙනවානේ associations. අපි ඒවා members ලා. ඒතර අපි කොහෙන් හරි connected වෙනවා. ඒතර එකම industry එකක් අපි ගෙනාවහම තම sector එකෙන් ගෙනාවහම මේ connection එක කොහොම හරි build වෙනවා. ඒකයි කියන්නේ bring people from other industries. ඊළඟට ඒකල කියනවා non-executive directors from within the industry may also be influenced by assumption and views of the industry. ඒක මේකෙන් කියන්නේ ඒකයි. Always ensure to bring people outside the industry. But disadvantage එක තමයි outside the industry එක නම් මේගොල්ලෝ company එකට contribute කරන්න දන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ company එකේ setup එක දන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ වෙන industry එකක ඉන්නේ. So that is the disadvantage they mentioned here. Okay? ඒ වගේ තමයි මෙතන තියෙන්නේ. This is the last thing I think. Performance. Yes. Right? Then මේගොල්ලන්ගේ performance measurement එක හරිම important. දැන් අපි බලවනේ board එකේ performance බලන හැටි. Right? then අපි බලුවා director කෙනෙක්ගේ performance බලන හැටි. This shows how to evaluate the performance of a NED. Right? NED's performance should be should be checked based on these criteria. How they are preparing for the meetings, how are they attending the meetings, willingness to devote time and effort to understand company and its business, quality and value of contribution to the board meetings, contribution to development of strategy and risk management, demonstration of independence by probing, maintaining own views and resisting pressure from others, relationship with fellow board members, up-to-date awareness, communication. Main criteria වලින් තමයි you have to evaluate the performance of a non-executive director. So this is all. So in this set of slides, we talked about different roles in the board, right? We started with chairman, then moved to CEO, then we looked at who is the executive director and non-executive director. Right? There are question sticker which I showed you tutorial covers everything. Right? ඒකේ answer sticker බලන්නම ඕනේ. ඒක I have made questions for everything. So if you know that questions well, you can answer the end exam really well. And you can answer your MCQs also really well if you know. ඒකේ හැම question එකම මම අහලා තියෙනවා. අහන්න පුළුවන් හැම පැත්තෙම. හරි? So that part. So what are we going to do? You want to stop? I want to do the next one. ඇතිද? Marvelous, would have done such a market. But I have 2 topics to finish, guys. I have to finish by next week. What are we going to do? I have to get committees. That is also 25 times, so I have not. Right? This is the last thing we have to do. Board committees. ඒක අද කරන්න බෑ මම ඒක කරොත් ඔයගොල්ලන් force කරලා යන්නේ මේක එකකට ඔලුවට යන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ බාපි කුඩි. Right? We are going to study about these committees. I mean, slide එක කියවලා එන්න ළමයි ඊළඟ දවසේ. I have uploaded everything, even the questions. Then we can finish it in the first break එක ඉවර කරමු. ඊට පස්සේ තියෙන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකන් කෝඩ් එක. ශ්‍රී ලංකන් කෝඩ් එක කියන්නේ මේව ඉගෙන ගන්න කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ. ඒක මම හිතන්නේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් පෙන්නනවා කෝඩ් එකේ අපේ මොනවද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. That's all. Right? So if you joined up today, we can next week.